Welcome, everybody. Welcome back to another video under Cracked Wide Open. This is where we break consciousness wide open. Welcome back, my beautiful souls. I'm Cheryl. How are you all doing? I know you're feeling these energies that are coming up upon us. This total lunar eclipse, pretty intense weeks to come. It's important to really just consciously develop some sort of spiritual practice to protect one's energy and your sanity. Do some type of soothing rituals during the eclipses, especially if it's affecting a planet or a point in your chart. So maybe look up your chart, ask an astrologer or a tarot reader to do your chart. Take time for prayers and meditation and just center yourself and be silent. And the intensity and the ride will be great. Don't fight it. Don't fight the cosmos, right? So I'm going to go ahead and call consciousness in and we'll get started. Take a deep breath, please. Deep breath. And one more. Thank you so much for allowing me to do that. It just makes me feel so centered and so well. Today, I want to talk a little bit about freeing yourself from the thinking mind. There's really two ways to free yourself from the thinking mind. And I thought this was a good topic to speak about. It was a good question I got from a young lady that said, how can I free myself from my thinking mind? And I thought, since these eclipses and these energies have been so strong and so powerful, and eclipses are meant to eclipse things into our life or eclipse things out of our life. So the energies can be very intense for a lot of people, and the mental chatter can be pretty rampant. So freeing yourself from the thinking mind, there's really only two ways to free yourself from the thinking mind. Do you remember I spoke about a peace? I spoke about a peace that I felt and that it was emanating from the inside of me. I even explained how my life was crumbling on the outside, and yet I felt this peace that I couldn't understand. I couldn't conceptually understand it. I know now because Jesus spoke of this. It's peace which surpasses all understanding. And this peace will guard your hearts and your minds through Jesus Christ. And I believe that's in the New James Bible. And there are many references to that verse or that reference in the Old Testament in some verses, but I don't know them because I'm not well versed in the Bible. I apologize for that. But there are many references to this throughout the Bible. And in Christianity, I was taught an etiology. I was taught an etiology about a man on a cross that lived in the heavens, and he had a beard, and he was going to atone me for my sins. In all truth, Jesus was an archetype, and the man on the cross was crucified. And by means of this, by the very nature, humanity is subject to this crucifixion by life, but through experiencing suffering, right? And through this suffering, you gain this acceptance. You accept it for what it is. You don't give it any more commentary, mental commentary, and you sit in the stillness in the now, and you allow the feeling to just be. And through this, we're able to step out of the thinking mind. It's actually not stepping out of the thinking mind. You're actually going above thinking. So you may recall me also saying that I have not had a thought in my head. Remember? It wasn't even possible for me to think and remember a date, or something when asked. That's how empty my mind was. It's even possible to stop the thinking. That's what happened to me. The thinking stopped, right? Is it possible to stop your thinking of yourself or about your problems or about your pasts or about your woes or your hurts? Is it even achievable? Can it be done? Where I sit, I say yes. When you no longer think of yourself, your problem, what's left of you? That's what I ask myself. What's left of me if I don't have my family, if I don't have my house, if I don't have my job, if I don't have my career, if I don't have this or this or this? Who am I? What happens to me, right? When you no longer think of yourself and your problems, what's left is the sense of being, the I am of you, the I am consciousness. See if you can sit in space and time where you currently are. Sit in the now without giving the thinking mind any added material or commentary or adding anything to it. See if you can sit with that for a few minutes completely without interruption. And at first, you may only experience really small bouts of it, but as you do it, those bouts will get longer, and the expansion of it the duration will become longer, but it will be greater and greater each time. Here is where stillness resides. That's why I said I don't have a thought in my head, because in stillness, there's no thinking. I have risen above the thinking mind. I realized through my shift that I was not the mind, the thoughts, that even the body, even the avatar I was in, right? Or the emotions that I was feeling, or the thoughts that I was having. It's a liberating and profound experience. And you can find stillness and you can free yourself from the thinking mind in that way. Practice. You have to have a state or somewhat sense of awareness and to be able to sit with the emotion or the thought you're feeling. And if you can do that without adding any commentary to it or adding anything to it, right? Just allow it to be. You will rise above the thinking mind. And that's the first way to free yourself from compulsive thinking. It's really through this surrendering and acceptance that consciousness comes in, and then transcendence occurs, and the egoic mind falls away and it is removed, right? And the egoic mind is the thinking mind, right? In fact, all the thinking, when you have this shift, when you do this and rise above thought, all thinking ceases, it all stops. Now I'm able to use my thinking in a more constructive manner for a greater good for myself, for consciousness, and for creator, collective consciousness. Now I'm teaching oneness in a spiritual realm, showing you how by pointing the way. Now I am consciously creating with creator and living my dharma. Thinking is I don't think unless it's a necessary purpose to do so. I stay in consciousness, and I rock in consciousness in peace that surpasses all understanding. And when an action's required, then the thought to obtain that action and complete the task is done. And when it's done, It's done. So thinking is now for a higher purpose, a greater good. A true spiritual teacher shows you how to rise above thought. The thinking mind you can begin to use as a useful tool at that point, in a useful way that will benefit consciousness, yourself, and the collective or humanity as a whole. There's a second way that you can free yourself from the thinking mind. Okay, you can I don't know, take pills, you can drink some alcohol, and you know how someone says after work I drink a few beers and my problems go away and I feel really good. Well, here you fall below thinking and you're headed to unconsciousness. And that's why after a few drinks, people say that. They say, wow, I don't have any more problems. I feel great. They start singing and dancing and having a good time at the pub, and their problems seem to have magically disappeared. Well, they have fallen below thought and they are headed towards unconsciousness. So sentinel beings escape and use things to either fall below consciousness or to rise above it. And so when Jesus spoke of this, and I spoke of it to you all, I said, I have this peace that's emanating from the inside of me, this calmness that's rocking me back and forth as if my mother is coddling me in her arms, right? And it's emanating from the inside of me. I couldn't even understand it myself, right? My life on the outside, the environmental structures were crumbling, and yet I had peace. At first, like I said, I couldn't wrap a conceptual idea around it or understand it or why or know where it was coming from, but I do now. I do now. And we have to know that in Christianity, if you weren't raised in Christianity, you weren't taught the same ideology that I was taught about a man on the cross. Remember I said the cross? Hello, straight up and down is creator. And this is the environment that we live in, the matrix we live in. We live in a matrix, and this is an avatar, yes? And in Christianity, I was taught an ideology about this man on this cross. And Jesus is actually an archetype if you look it up. And the man on the cross was crucified. And by the very essence of that crucifixion, we as humanity became subject to crucifixion in life. How? By experiencing suffering. By experiencing suffering, by doing the same thing over and over and over again, expecting different results and saying, I don't know how that's happening to me, until you change something about the behavior, about the thought, about the instances that you're having, the outcome will be the same, and you will continue to experience suffering. Consciousness, spirit will oblige you. Yes. And it's through the surrender, only through the surrendering and the acceptance of what is, that consciousness is able to come in, and there's a space that's created, and through that we're able to step out of the thinking mind, and as I've stated before, it's not really stepping out, you're going above it, you're rising above the thinking mind, right? And you may even recall me saying that I don't have a thought in my head. I didn't, and I still don't. And it's 3 years and 3 months, and I don't have a thought in my brain. When I have a thought, it's usually wrapped around something, a task that I must do. Pruning the roses, going to the grocery store, paying my bills, doing what's expected of me as a sentinel being in society, right? And through all of my Through all of my suffering for like, I can't even say 28, 29, 30 years, right? Through all that suffering, when I finally got to the end, and I said, I am sick and tired of being sick and tired of being sick and tired. And I completely surrendered to the extent of saying aloud to Creator, either you take me or break me, because I can't take any more of this. And so I was awakened. And that is the utter surrender that it took for me to accept my situation, my environment, that I was being crucified by life, experiencing suffering for God knows what reason, right? Because there didn't seem to be one. I had to accept what it was then and now. And through that, I was able to rise above my thoughts. That's why I don't have a thought in my head. Now, when I rose above my thoughts, it was possible the thinking mind stopped. The past problems, the attachments, the woes, the hurts fell away. When you no longer think of yourself or your problems, what's left of you? When your job falls away and your children move away and they have families of their own, and your spouse or your partner that you thought was your partner for life, and you split, and you're having all these problems, and you're thinking of yourself and your past and your woes and your hurts. People ask me all the time, is it even accessible or achievable for me to stop and free myself from the compulsive thinking of thought? Yes, you can. When you no longer think of yourself, when you no longer think of your problems, when you leave your problems, I'm going to say, like when you walk into a boss's office and it says, leave your problems at the door. Leave your problems at the door. Take your problems, take your woes, take your past, your hurts, and lay them at conscious Creator's feet. In the Bible, God speaks about, come to me as you are, and the kingdom of heaven is yours. You don't need to be shoved into the kingdom of heaven like I was. You can sit in this space that you're in time, currently in anywhere that you are. You can close your door, and without giving any of the thinking or the thoughts you're having in your head or the voice speaking to you any additional commentary or adding anything to it or debating with it, if you completely, without interruption, you might only have a glimpse. You might only have a few seconds to where you're able to do it. Why? Because the egoic mind is very powerful. There is a habitual mind pattern in the collective. Yes, and we're all born into it. And it is an illusion. And so it takes diligence, and I'm going to just say a specific amount of awareness. And that doesn't mean that you have to just sit here and say, oh, I don't have any thoughts. I don't, and just sit here and have nothing. You can sit in space and time, and you can take a few deep breaths in and out, and you can allow yourself to rest, and you can calm yourself in the now. You can do that. You can do that. That's achievable, right? And then if a thinking thought comes into the mind, just surrender to the thought. Just surrender to the thought. Thoughts are fleeting like the wind outside your door. Consciousness wants to experience itself through your avatar, through your body. And so thoughts are fleeting. Thoughts come in to give you ideas, right? That's how great inventions came about. And that's how, on the flip side, bad sorrow and suffering came about, right? So sit in the current space and time wherever you are, without giving the thinking mind, close your eyes. Just this small amount, you're leaving space for consciousness to come in, right? And that a ringing in my right ear, I'm sorry. And it's through this surrendering when I have a thought, example, oh, I'm just not going to be able to get this job. I've been applying for so many. There's always someone better than me. If you're thinking a thought similar to that or something negative, don't feed it commentary. Walk it like a dog. I've told you guys that before, right? You're not going to engage a dog down the street, a Rottweiler, even if it has a collar on, because you don't know the dog, right? So you may have a thought, oh, shoot, I should go rescue the dog, but I don't know if it's going to bite me. I don't know if it's going to hurt me. So you're probably going to walk on by. Do the same thing. Walk the thought like a dog. And you can even say that in your mind's eye. It builds pattern and it builds habit, right? And the thought, I guarantee you, will leave as quickly as it came in. As long as you don't add further commentary to it. And the commentary is going to be based on your habitual mind pattern, your limited thoughts and belief systems that you were raised with by no fault of your own. So try to remember that. It's even possible that your thinking will stop when you sit for that few minutes in space and time and you take those few deep breaths. You will realize you're not having a thought. And you can go deeper into that. You can go deeper into the deeper I, because when you no longer think of yourself, your problems, the essence is what's left of you, the consciousness that I am. So try it. Do some mindful meditation if you can. There's focused meditation, there's mindful meditation, there's mantras. There's many different modalities and types of meditation that can help, but you have to find one that resonates with you, right? And emotions, you have to remember, emotions are energy in motion. Yes. And if you feed the emotion more energy and more commentary, you're going to have a greater outcome. And generally, it's samsara or suffering. So try to find in space and time where you currently are without any interruption to sit down 5 or 10 minutes a day and ask yourself, can I sit here in oneness and consciousness and not give any commentary or add anything more to the thoughts that are going on in my head? Can you completely, without any interruption, do this? The minute you begin to ask yourself those questions, you're already creating the opening. And at first, like I said, it might be really small opening, but as you do it, the opening will get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, and the egoic mind, the thinking mind, will fall away. And here is where stillness resides. No thinking. That's why I don't have a thought in my head. It's beautiful. It's very liberating, actually. And there you have risen above thought. And that's the way you free yourself from compulsive thinking. So if you have questions, please leave them. I'm always happy to help if I can in any way. If you have questions, these energies are intense for all of us. This eclipse season is a time for reckoning, really. It's a time for revelations. And let's say it out loud, clearing cosmic downloads, right? Downloads are maybe coming to people and they're feeling the energy on intensely, right? By the planetary energies that are moving, it's affecting us all on a global level as sentient beings that live and house this planet. And we all have a personal chart. Excuse me. And when your aspects, if you don't know your aspects and your personal planets and points, maybe Google on what is it? Cafe something has cafes. I can't remember it. I'll try to find it and put a link for you guys. You can get a free chart, right? As long as you know your time, date, and birth, right? And most everybody knows that. So, but what you need to do really at this point is feel free to feel these energies, because this month, the month before us, and even 6 months after this is the second lunar eclipse, and after after May 30th or March 30th, right, which started it off. This is going to be the lunar eclipse in Scorpio. It's actually going to be in Libra if you look at the lineup on the planets on the resonance chart, because the one of the planets has shifted almost a whole out of alignment. It's quite weird. But the eclipse season is a very powerful vortex of energy, and that it's going to herald change. It's going to herald change, and it's going to bring in new possibilities. And they're going to come in fast and hard or slow, right? It depends on your situation. And whether we want to acknowledge it or not, the energies are present. And the gravitational field of our solar system suspends within the Milky Way and the galaxy. And we feel these effects both on an individual and collective level. That's the truth. Eclipses take place when, the sun and the moon are within 10 degrees of the moon's nodes. And they do this full moon, we experience a total eclipse as the nodes are very close to that position, right, of illumination. And the upcoming lunar eclipse that's coming is a full moon on top of it in Scorpio, and it takes place May 16th at 12, I want to say 12:13, but it's at 25 minutes and 25 degrees and 17 minutes of Taurus. So when you do a free chart, look and see where 25 degrees and 17 minutes of Taurus falls in your chart, and the moon at 25 degrees and 17 minutes of Scorpio. Where does that fall in your chart, right? What house is it in? And then maybe look up the house and see what that house represents. South node in Scorpio and north node in Taurus, the sun really represents our ego and self-esteem, and that's what's going on. And the moon in our emotional realms with the south node in Scorpio, the emphasis is kind of overcoming destructive behaviors, addictions, drama, our tendency to manipulate others. Things are going to come from the top down and fall away, lies, deceptions, right? And you get what you get. And it's always time for the reckoning, right? With negative ancestral patterns and past lives and traumatic experiences that lurk in our subconscious that we all experience, right? This eclipse season is, I don't know, a perfect time, I think, to cleanse your mind and your heart. And that's why I picked this topic about stopping the thinking mind, the compulsiveness of the thinking mind. Because whenever you feel the need to engage with any type of drama, sit back and take a couple deep breaths and ask yourself, is my response for the greater good of them and and will it help the situation on a collective, or will it not? And make your decision based on that. Allow yourself that time. You don't have to respond to every thought you have. And that's why it's important to free yourself from the thinking mind, because the thoughts you have are going to be based on the habitual mind pattern you have that you were raised with, and your environmental circumstances, your beliefs, your religion, your sex even, right? So try to think about some of these things. And the moon and the sun conjunct, the moon's nodes with the north node in Taurus at 22 degrees, that's our collective future, and the south node in Scorpio is pointing to the past. experience that we as a collective back here have outgrown. So that's why I say sentinel beings need to wake up. More sentinel beings need to awaken, because where the positions of these planets are right now and these energies that are so powerful, I've been feeling them for 3 months prior, and they've been so intense. I've had insomnia, I've had anger, and I've had emotions that have just popped up. Short lived, but popped up. Popped up. Why? Because it was a trigger from my subconscious that there was something left unresolved. And the eclipses bring all of that to light, right? They bring all deception, they're breaking all the rules. They're giving you an opportunity to reevaluate, reassess, right? And since Scorpio's the full moon, Mars, the traditional ruler, Scorpio, and Pluto is the modern ruler. Wow. Those are the guardians of this total lunar eclipse. And so look in your placement. It's important in your chart, as the house and sign will give you clues of how to transform your life, how to move from the things that no longer served you and the latent collective and move into the new age of Aquarius. Look where they're falling in the degrees in your chart and say, what house is it in? And to search yourself in those areas based upon your desires. It's really about, centering yourself and also using some sort of meditation or personal growth and development for yourself, or some sort of supportive energies of Pluto that you can, right? And it creates this beautiful, they're creating a beautiful trine to the sun, and it's conjunct Mercury and sextile the moon in the south node. This beautiful, beautiful cosmic dance in our planetary system is going on. There's major aspects of this lunar eclipse, that the major aspects are things like, T squares and stelliums and south node and north node and Pluto. And you can look them all up and see where they're at. I don't think I need to go over them all for you, but with all these planetary configurations, you can see how dynamic the energy is, especially during this lunar eclipse. And it's going to be a full moon lunar eclipse. So the intensity is magnified, right? It's intensified with great mystery of bringing new and removing old. And so it asks us to spiritually ground yourself. Ask yourself what you want. What's your unique purpose? What's your plan? What do you want to do in life? How can you take baby steps? You don't have to take a big old piece of the pie, right? You cut a pie in 12 slices. You can take one slice of the pie at a time and take baby steps in personal and spiritual development, right? Saturn is really teaching us major hardcore lessons right now. And Saturn represents structure and authority, both internal and external. So to live up to the highest calling of your spiritual for this planet, you need to accept the responsibilities for manifesting your goals, whether it's shit, good, bad, or indifferent, right? You manifested it, so you have to be responsible, right? And your goals shoot out on a collective level. When you think a thought, you're not only thinking a thought yourself, that thought's being emanated, because thoughts are energy in motion. That thought's going out to the collective. And these energies right now are calling us. They're calling us to acknowledge ourselves. I'm sorry, I'm doing this on a fly. Acknowledge ourselves as creators of our universe, creators of the practical skills of organizing and managing our life, right? What works? What do I want to keep that's working, and what do I want to get rid of because it's dead, it's gone, it's back here, right? Because we're in the new age of Aquarius. It's essential to internalize this, and the responsibility that you hold is yours solely, over your own life, right? And the actions or the potential change or the impact that you have. Shit, do the people in your community or just in general with the people around you that are ever fucking evolving in this quantum dance that's happening? We have a profound opportunity to dance with the cosmos. I'm dancing. I feel like I'm dancing in a ballroom with consciousness, right? I'm walking the talk. I'm living my word. I'm taking responsibility for what spirit is showing me and telling me to do as a higher good for myself, for you, for the collective, and for consciousness. And you're free to act as you choose. Your integrity is Saturn's questioning your integrity, right? He's the god of time and duty. He's going to nod appropriately, right? Or as maybe you're going to overcome the fear. Maybe you're going to overcome the obstacle, and you're going to act in a stellar way to move yourself beyond the limits of beyond the limits of where your comfort zone are, your personal comfort zone, where you take responsibility for your own baggage, right? And those that are part of it. I mean, with the square of Saturn, we are aware of what needs to be changed, are we not? I mean, just go look on social media. You can see the insanity of the compulsive, habitual mind pattern of the collective. Just look around. 9/11, the Holocaust, murder, molesting children, slavery. All those things are done on a collective basis, and someone thought them and did them and acted upon them, right? And that's the collective madness in the mind, right? And with the square to Saturn, we're aware of what needs to be changed in our life, because Saturn's offering it up to you and showing you, I'm giving you a reality check. Pay attention. What's your path? Where are you going? Who are you going with? And are you getting there, right? Are you getting where you're supposed to be? I think Pluto is 28 degrees. Is it? Pluto's 28 degrees, I think, and of Capricorn. And it's creating this beautiful trine in the sun. And it's conjuncting Mercury and the North Node. And it's also, I believe, sextiling the South Node and the Moon. And so that's happening during this lunar eclipse. And it brings us together and to use each other as support and to grow and to help one another in healing and moving forward on a collective level. And it starts with one person. It starts with you. And then you tell one, and they tell one, and they tell one, and they tell one, right? Pluto and Capricorn, the generational slow moving planet, that's a slow moving planet, but it calls upon the collective. It calls upon the collective acknowledging that a concept of something you're doing or not doing, right? And it's reverberating it to you. And it's doing that so you can enhance the work on a personal level and take responsibility, because Saturn's there knocking. And Pluto reveals where we most I'm going to say it nicely, where we mostly secretly or deny change. It's inevitable, right? And it's all happening to us. And this, anything that occurs right now is going to occur on a global level, and that has greater power and influence. And I've always said, where one or more are gathered, there he is in the midst, right? And so we have a responsibility to gather, right, as a collective and heal one another and take responsibility for our own actions and what we manifest. And anything that occurs in our life occurs on a global level on the collective, and that has power and influence and certain affects us all. And the eclipse really, with the point, these points or planets in your charts, when you look at them, right, and they can cause occurrences to happen in your life in the houses that they're in. That's why I say look at the house they're in and look up what that house means. And if you're experiencing any of those things from this outer planet transit, right? Are you experiencing symptoms or things like that going on in your life? Remember, ancient sculpture or scriptures advise us to stay focused. They ask us to meditate. They ask us to reflect so that we have the strength to live through whatever eclipses bring us. Yes? And so whatever these eclipses bring you, I don't know. I know what they're bringing me. I know what they've been bringing me. For me, old issues coming up and even saying, having bouts of where an emotion came up. And I've explained emotions are energy in action, right? They're energy in action. And when you have energy in action and it's moving to the collective, and the collective is going to experience the same thing I'm experiencing or the same thought I'm having. So freeing yourself from this compulsive thinking. Just try it. Just try sitting in space and time wherever you are and giving yourself 5 minutes, 10 minutes. And if a thought comes in, walk it like a dog, right? Don't engage it. Don't add anything to it. Don't just ignore it and let it go. And I promise you it will leave as quickly as it came in. And another might come in. And you do the same thing with it. And through doing this, there's a space that happens. And that space is where consciousness can come in and stillness resides. So you're opening that space. And each time you do it, the space gets bigger and bigger and bigger. So it is my greatest accomplishment. And it is peace that surpasses all understanding. You won't be able to understand it, but you will grasp it and hold it, and you will know it's coming from the inside of you. Unconditional love, peace, and joy, and oneness. You will feel it. No one needs to tell you or poke you or show you. You will literally feel it. And a thought and the feeling are two different things. And thoughts are fleeting. Consciousness wants to experience itself through this avatar. That's how things come to life in our world. Right? And that's how shit comes about in our world. Wayne Dyer convinced me. And that's what I've always said. Flick it like a booger. If you have a bad thought, think of the exact opposite. You can do that kind of mantra meditation too. Some people that doesn't work for is the minute they make I don't know, they get rolling, their mind gets going and they start thinking about all kinds of opposites. And just don't give it any commentary. If you can. And, for me, I don't say any of these things to you guys lightly. I was tossed into the kingdom of heaven through suffering. My own suffering, my own creation. And when the tower came in and that stuff crumbled and the veil was brought down, consciousness showed me the truth. And the truth is love, unconditional love, peace that surpasses all understanding, and oneness. That's why your thoughts fall away, because the egoic mind dies, so to speak. It dies and it lays in the background, right? And it knows and it cooperates because it knows it's for the greater good of its existence. Because it cannot live in consciousness. Consciousness just busts right through that stuff like magic, like butter. I know people are telling me a lot. They're having difficulties sleeping. You know, what's really good and what's really been helping me to sleep is I've been taking like some herbs at night, some astragalus root, some lemon balm, and some other herbs that I purchased. And I've been doing myself a tea and have valerian root in it. You know, the herb valerian root, and I steep myself a tea, and there it's very soothing, and I put lemon and I put honey in it, right? And what I have left over I leave in the refrigerator for a cool one. And astragalus root and some of the herbs, the stinging nettle, and some of the other herbs that I use are very, very good for you, and your body needs them. And so if you're not getting sunlight for serotonin and melatonin to form, then sleeping patterns can be off. Your circadian rhythm can be just knocked off and all gone to hell, right? And so in order to get that back on track, it's going to take some discipline on your part. It's going to take do what you can not to sleep during the day. You're not tired. You're just not tired. Well, maybe you have that type of metabolism. Maybe you're one of those people that sleep, you know, very 6 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours, right? I used to sleep only about 6 or 7 hours prior to my awakening, and now I sleep 8 to 10 solid. Then I lay my head down, I'm gone, and I don't wake up till 8 or 10 hours later. And it's the most restful sleep I've had in my entire life. And so when you're laying down and you're resting, you're not really resting, you're not really sleeping. Your mind, your subconscious is still going, and your subconscious is just replaying the events of the day. And you're off traveling in the cosmos somewhere, and consciousness is holding you in suspension and beating your heart while you're there. And so, you know, that's not very much. 1 hour of sleep is not enough for your body to function. That's not enough for your body to function. You need more rest for your body to function than 1 hour a night. Just my opinion. Try some meditation, Leslie, prior to sleep. Try finding stillness, because it does reside within you, right? Try just sitting in that space and time for a few minutes before you go to bed without adding any commentary to, oh, I can't sleep, or whatever thoughts are coming into your head, and see if that helps a little bit. And do some other modalities. Do a bath, do a ritual with a bath, and use some, you know, really beautiful herbs and Epsom salts and aromas that your brain can enjoy, right? You're not just smelling you're using your 5 senses. Be tactile, right? When put your lotion on, you can massage your muscles. You know, you can self-care and self-love yourself in many, many ways. Music, dance, meditation, hot baths, massage, you know, Reiki, even. So many things, so many modalities that work. You know, all you have to do is just try them, and you're not going to know which one works until you try it. And some will work for you and some won't work for you, and that's okay. Some work for me and some don't work for me. And that's okay. Some people are meditating under the hood of their car in their garage and their hands are all dirty, but they're in their zone. And that's their meditation for them. That's their downtime, right? And so that's they're sitting in their space and time and they're not thinking of anything because they're fiddling with their car. And so the thoughts, the thinking mind has stopped. And so they're enjoying that space, right? They're enjoying what they're doing. They're not doing it as a means to an end. They're not rushing through the process as a means to an end. So there's a lot of other videos I want to do on some of these things, but I feel this was a great topic to discuss, and humanity as a whole is subject to crucifixion, and that is through experiencing suffering. And it's not until you surrender and to the now and that which is right here, right now, will the real work happen. Yes, ma'am. It's there. It's right there. It's right there. I've not been doing much of that on YouTube because of Google's not been very friendly about that. And my channel seems to be going in a different direction, but my medicinal medicine is always going to be a part of my life, and that's not ever going to change. And that's part of what saved my life and awakened me in the first place, is dealing with herbs and natural things that were God given us on this planet. And so as long as it serves my purpose, it's good for me and it's good for the collective and it's good for consciousness. I'm going to keep doing it. The minute it creates samsuriya or suffering or pain or problems or conflict or discord for myself, for the collective, or for God, it'd be gone. It would fall away. There's no room. There's no space for anything but love and positivity. And it's very hard. That's a garden that you have within. And that's a garden that you tend to, the same as your external garden that you're growing, right? You feed it, you water it, you bathe it, you nurture it, you love it, right? And you acknowledge your responsibilities and you educate it and you change and you gain wisdom and you awaken. And that will be your greatest accomplishment. It's been my greatest accomplishment. And who does not want peace beyond all understanding? You won't. It's just rocks you. It just rocks you. It's so blissful and it's liberating. It's freeing. And if I can point the way and help, I want to. And that's what I'm getting guided to do through my astrology, my tarot, my readings, everything, my grow, my teaching, everything. As long as it's for the greater good of myself, the collective, and consciousness, those things will continue to happen. Those things have not fallen away. The things that did not serve me in my life, that were harmful to me, fell away. The things that meant something and that had purpose and that were greater good for me and the collective and consciousness stayed. That's how it works. God doesn't strip you of things that are working in your life, that are positive and assisting you and other beings. I don't just use my herbs for myself. I use them for my patients. I make teas and tinctures, for patients, and I do Reiki, and it all is part of the package. And everyone has the right to medicate their physical body in any way they choose. So it's a God-given thing that's given to you, and it's a beautiful thing. And I think it should be shared more. And I think it's coming. It's just that there's more research and more things that need to be done about it. And Google's not very friendly. So I've limited those videos, and I apologize to you guys. There will be an update. I'll be doing an update on Blue Planet Nutrients. I haven't even opened my box yet, giving you guys a surprise in there and showing you the new ladies and what's going on in the garden. I'm happy to do that for you. I'm just waiting a little bit. I've topped four, and I'm waiting for them to just get a little bit bigger so I can transplant them, and then I'll show them to you. But they're absolutely beautiful. They're absolutely gorgeous. They're always gorgeous in my garden. Why? I nurture them the same as I nurture the garden within. I play music for them. I play music for myself, right? I give them water. I give them food. I give them love. I provide Reiki to them, right? It's all part of the package. And they love me back. And it's a live sentinel being. It's alive. And it's, if you look at a trunk of a tree, it's a trunk of a tree, and those roots root themselves way down in the soil, and they fragment and they fractal and they spread out all over the place. And you got deep, 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 deep roots. Take that trunk and go up into the tree. Now you got branches that are fractaling all the way out, all the way out, all the way out, all the way out, right? You like my Buddha waterfall? I really love that. I wish I had a bigger one. There's a bigger one at the shop where I go and provide Reiki for people. I do it, and they have a really huge one, and I'm tempted to buy myself it. I am a water baby. I love water, and I love to hear it. And I play music and have water in my room for my girls too. So their iPad sits right next to their window, so they get played whatever music I feel like that day. And I have incense that I burn, and I sage, and I use Palo Santo, and I even sage and Palo Santo the tent, and all of it is incorporated in my practice. It's all spiritual. That's why this is the spiritual room. This is the spiritual room. My drumming I do in here. I'm a shamanic drummer. I drum and I travel and I journey, and so I use my drum in here, my singing bowl. I do my cards in here. I do my crystals in here. I talk to you guys in here. I thought about talking to you guys in the living room, but it's really warm outside. It's supposed to really warm up this weekend. So the wind has been crazy. The energies have been crazy. Just hang on to your britches, stay mindful if you can. Try to free yourself from the thinking mind. Rise above thought. So a lot of people fall below thought, and they'll go to the bar next door and they'll have a drink or two, and they'll go, "Oh, I feel great now." Well, you've fallen below thought. Now you're not thinking anything at all. You're just whooping it up and having a good time, right? So you're kind of going towards unconsciousness. I think I should. Yes, I'm waiting because I'm single and now, and things aren't the same, and so uh I have to plan purchases, and I don't really need it. I want it. I don't need it. And so where I sit, if I don't need it, but I do want a bigger one. I may treat myself on my birthday or a holiday or something like that, right? But I do go to her shop and buy a lot of things. She has a lot of beautiful things. I'm actually looking for a sash or something that I can wear when I do my meditation and my yoga. That's comfortable. I've seen even I don't know what you call them. Maybe muumuu, maybe you call them a muumuu dress. Not so much like that, but I've seen the Buddhists wear them. I don't know how they wrap around. I'd like to get one of those for my meditation, because I feel restricted sometimes when I'm meditating. So I usually will meditate pretty much with just a tea and something on, not much, but because I feel restricted and I want to let the energies move. And then I'll dance and do yoga. So it's just, I'm looking at my Tibetan hanger that I bought when I saw the Dalai Lama here. I'm looking at, I'm really looking at some interesting sacred geometrical designs, and I can't wait to talk about them to you guys, because I'm experiencing some of them through my physical body. And so that's how I'm becoming aware of them. The Merkaba is one of them, and there's others too. And I just want to talk a little bit about, what that is and what I'm feeling, because it matches the fractal and the fragmentation, and it really connects with what I'm seeing in the energy, what I'm being shown. It matches. It's like a perfect match, right? And so it when it matches, then it manifests. And I'm looking at energy and particles and quantum physics, and it's quite interesting and quite profound. So I don't know where spirit's taking me, but it has something to do with that. And I can feel, I don't want to get into that one this time. I'll get into it next time. For now, I want you guys just to try to stay in the space that you're in time, and center yourself 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes a day if you can. And don't add any commentary or don't add anything to what your thoughts say to you, right? And if you'll have small tiny periods at first, and you'll now be alert about noticing how your periods are with no thought, because you'll be wanting to see if it works. So try it. I honestly believe that through doing, habitual doing, you create a habit. And so that's how you got where you are. So you have to break the habits you have and retrain yourself. Algebra, you believe in aliens? I think we have been many things in our lifetime in this avatar. You're just in this avatar temporarily, right? You've probably been in eons of avatars from A to Z, from the time you were brought into this world. Your first reincarnation and birth was coming down the birth canal in your mom's birth canal. You were comfortable at home with your 5 senses, and all your needs were being met, and all of a sudden something happened. You didn't know what happened. You just knew you were being squeezed out of a tube and going down a canal, and then now you're reborn as a baby. So now you have to learn how to be a baby. Before, you were an embryo and an infant inside, right? So you've had multiple rebirths. I don't doubt for a second there is not aliens among us. Not for a second. With what I see in the energy and what spirit brings me, it's all sacred geometry. Sacred geometry. And now I know why the kaleidoscope that I kept saying looks so familiar, because the kaleidoscope is the same identical thing she showed me. And I looked at Merkaba and what it is, and I've been looking at it and drawn it, and another design I've been drawn as a Mandela, and it's the same thing she showed me that I was saying. I said it a million times. You look at a kaleidoscope, and it's everything's turning every which way and every direction. It's constantly going and never stopping, right? There's no birth and there is no death. It's evolution. You're constantly going. You've never died. You've never been born. You can't die because you've never been born. You're a speck of light in the end. You are a minute part of the macro consciousness creator. We are the tiny little micros of the macro, and we're in the avatar that we're in, that we chose to be in this lifetime, and consciousness wants to experience itself through you, through what you do. And maybe it's alien, maybe it's teaching about aliens, maybe it's knowledge about aliens, maybe it's what types of things you like, and that's your special gift that you're going to talk about. Who knows? Nobody knows. Maybe that could be it. Maybe not. I don't know. I pray that everybody finds their special gift, because as soon as you awaken, your gifts will be visible to you. That's why I do tarot cards. I'm not reading the tarot cards. Spirit's reading for me. I'm just channeling. Yeah. And you mentioned the COVID booster. Why did you mention that? Do you think it has any affiliation? I don't think it has any. Maybe you were looking, maybe you did go travel in a past life. There's shape shifting that occurs. When you sleep, you're traveling. You're not sleeping, you're traveling. So your soul gets up and moves and travels. And so those are things that that were familiar to you, that may be just possible downloads for you. And so try not to fight what's being brought to you. If it's causing no harm for anyone and it's good for you, God, and the collective, then do your dig, man. That's what I say to everyone. Don't let another stuff out your light. Don't let another stuff out your light. It's not their right. They don't have a right to do that. So I've been on here an hour, and I've told you guys how to free yourself from the thinking and compulsive mind. 2 ways. Go back and watch it if you want to see the reasons and how and the 2 ways. And I talked a little bit about the astrology. Hang tough. Light some sage. Do some Palo Santo. I was going to show you my shell and tell you, just get yourself a little shell. Light some Palo Santo, some white sage, and sage your house and yourself. And put some water out for the moon to be charged. And put your cards or crystals out. Do a moon ritual. We have a full moon plus the lunar eclipse on the 16th. So it's going to be a beautiful moon. Time for you to set new intentions, right? New beginnings. And Saturn and all the planets that I spoke about are closing the door on the past and the things that no longer served us on a collective level. So remove what doesn't serve you and keep what does. We just talked about that in a nutshell, didn't we? I love you guys so, so much. I'm glad I could come back and speak to you again on another video under Cracked Wide Open. Hang in there. The universe is doing a cleansing on a global level, right? And if you have to stay in or isolate yourself or hermit, just be sure you are isolating yourself for the greater good of yourself, God, and others, right? Don't hide from someone or from the pain. If something's bothering you, let it go, release it, and allow the cleansing to take place with all these planetary shifts that are going on. Ask your spirit angels and guides to help you. They're there. They cannot intervene if you don't ask. You have free will. And if you don't ask, then they assume you don't want their help. Do the same with Creator. Ask Creator to take your burdens, your troubles, your woes, your hurts, your pains, whatever it is, right? God says, come to me as you are, not put all your shit down and then come to me. He says, come to me as you are, and the kingdom of heaven is yours, my child. It says it in the Bible. Go to God. Some people say, well, God's not there. No, God's everywhere and nowhere. God is where you want him and nowhere where you want him. So when you have free will and you call Creator in and ask Creator for help, trust and believe it's coming. Yes. God does not confuse himself and his son. I love you guys so, so much. Thank you so much for being here. Please leave a comment, share the video under Cracked Wide Open, and I'll be putting up another video soon for you. Namaste, everybody.